DevOps.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the one-week International Online Faculty Development Program on recent trends and advancements in information technology, organized by the Department of Computer Applications, FISAT. Yeah, we are moving on to the first section for the day on DevOps, the Agile Enabler. With immense pleasure, I would like to introduce the speaker for this section, Mr. John Joseph, Project Manager, FinGen Global Solutions, Kochi. Mr. John is a PMP certified project manager with nearly a decade of software delivery experience. He is also a certified professional Scrum Master. During his career, he has worked with top Fortune 500 clients like KPMG, Hertz, Expedia, American Express, JP Morgan, and Chase, etc. He has also been part of the project team which did the largest loyalty platform till date. Started off as a developer, John has worn multiple hats, including that of a software tester, DevOps engineer, and a release engineer. Currently, he is working as a project manager at FinGen Global Solutions, Cochin. On behalf of everyone present over here, I welcome Mr. John Joseph to this section. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Just checking my microphone. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's audible.
All right. So good morning, all. So before I begin, let me just thank the Department of Computer Application, FISAT, and Santosh Kuttam, sir, for inviting me to today's session. So dear participants, if you have any questions in between, please feel free to key it in the chat box. I'll try to take as much as possible along with the session. If not, we'll park it and take it at the end of the session. And moderators, if I'm cutting out of, or if there is any issue with my voice, please feel free to call it out.
Sure, sir.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm just switching off my video in the interest to save bandwidth.
Okay.
Let me just share my screen here. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So before starting off, I would like to introduce you to James and Ursula, who would be helping me with today's presentation. So this is James and this is Ursula, and they both work for the e-commerce giant Flipkart. Now, what does James do? James is a development manager whose team basically writes code for new products, new features, and he typically often fixes bugs in production. Ursula, on the other hand, is a system administrator from the ops team, and she is primarily responsible for maintaining the production servers. Now, James' team was working on a critical feature deployment for the past couple of months, and he completed it within the triple constraints, say within budget, within quality, within cost and scope. But unfortunately, he looks to be real unhappy. Let's find out. To start off, he got a release date which is 4 weeks out. Now let's see how does this affect him. First, there is increased time to market, which means that he will not be able to get feedback in another 3 weeks or 4 weeks. From Flapkart perspective, as company perspective, it means that they can only start reaping the benefit only after 3 or 4 weeks, as the deployment date is 4 weeks out. Apart from that, James and his team has to play a real juggler's act because he has old code to maintain, which is up and running in the production, the pending code, which is sitting in his test environment for the next 4 weeks. And for the next 4 weeks, he cannot sit idle. So he needs to work on new features. And finally, on, say, for example, on August 21, when on the day of the release, when he promoted the code to production, there was a production error only because his development environment was not matching with that of production. All right, so we can see that James has all good reasons to be upset. Now let's just check on Ursula and see how she is doing. Now we can see that she is also equally pissed off. So we told that she is from the ops team and her primary responsibility is to maintain 99.99% uptime for all the servers out there. And a bit of history, when she joined Flapkart, there were only a few servers to maintain, but as Flapkart joined, as grew exponentially and number of customers increased, they also added more servers into their production setup. And this means more work to her. And on top of it, she had to maintain everything with an incompetent tool set. Apart from this, she is primarily responsible for deployments. She has to do the production monitoring. And with each production releases, she often feels that James and his development team are doing a shoddy job at things because she is often finding bugs in production and she often feels that they are not doing enough testing. That we have seen, they both have different problems. So in Flapkart office, James and Ursula sit next to each other and they often they take coffee breaks together. And during those coffee breaks, they began to discuss whether is it possible to help each other because they have, even though they have distinct set of problems, they began pondering on the thought, like, is it possible to help each other? They began thinking like, is it possible to work together? Or will it help if we think similar? Agreed that we sit beside each other, but will it help better if we communicate and collaborate better? Or is it even possible to share responsibilities? So they had many coffee breaks after this. They gave it a very good thought. They had the management involved. And they finally decided to work together. And they formed a new department in Flapkart. And that department came to be known as DevOps. All right. So what is DevOps? DevOps is nothing but a set of practices that combine software development and IT operations. So it aims to shorten the system's development lifecycle and provide continuous delivery with software quality. So setting the expectations for those who are well versed with the concept of DevOps, well, they could take this session as a refresher. And for all others, this session would act as a foundation for further reading or further research. So what is in tune for today's session? Well, we'll see a brief history on how the whole idea of DevOps was conceived. We'll look into the core concept, which is driving the DevOps concept. How is Agile related to DevOps, or rather, how is DevOps an enabler for Agile? Who all are the stakeholders and who is a DevOps engineer in particular? What are the benefits? How do we measure and what are the tools used? Are there any challenges in implementing DevOps? And how does the future look ahead for DevOps? All right, moving on. So basically, DevOps, the whole idea of DevOps was conceived or it was thought of because of the problems that we saw with Flapkart, at least to address some of the problems that we saw in Flapkart with James and Ursula's teams. So in 2009, the first conference named DevOps Days was held in Ghent, Belgium by Patrick Debois. So like we discussed, the whole idea was conceived to have better collaboration across various departments. And DevOps also can be interpreted as an outgrowth of Agile development. So we'll get into how DevOps and Agile are interrelated in the coming slides. And there is a suggested reading. If you are further interested, you can read a book called as the Phoenix Project. So this is co-authored by Gene Kim, Kevin Burr, and George Spafford, though this is available in Amazon. So it is a novel about how traditionally IT, DevOps, and were structured maybe 5 or 6 years back, and how the transition helped in winning businesses more effectively and quickly. So if you're interested, you could always take a read at this book. All right. So before we start, I have a quick question for you. So do you know at which frequency Amazon deploys code into production? Or rather the number of production deployments that happens at Amazon? I know we are all familiar with Amazon. So maybe you can use your chat boxes to key in a quick reply. Is it one release a day, or is it one release every month, or is it 100 releases a day? Any thoughts, any guess? You can use your chat boxes to just, maybe you can key in your answers. All right, I take that everybody is thinking on the number of releases that Amazon does to production every day. So I'll carry on. So Amazon engineers deploy code every 11.7 seconds into production. That is more than 7,000 deployments every single day. So this is a very huge number. Just imagine 7,000 deployments every single day. And how they got enabled? They got enabled because they implemented pure DevOps culture into their organization. Let's take let's see more insight to it. So like all concepts, DevOps also incorporates many variations across different organizations. However, the following capabilities are common across DevOps. They include collaboration, automation, terms like CI/CD, continuous testing, continuous monitoring. So we'll see one by one. So what is continuous integration? So a bit of a context here. Pre-agile era, if I may coin it right. Developers used to work on a piece of code for maybe a week or even a month, and then they used to deploy it. And when they deployed it, there was a hell lot of conflicts out there because it was conflicting with other developers' work. So with continuous integration in place, we are forcing developers to integrate their work with other developers frequently, at least on a daily basis. And what this does, it exposes integration issues and conflict much earlier rather than in other development methodologies like the waterfall. So following integration, okay, we have the developers are integrating the code frequently into the code base. Said that, we need to have continuous testing also in place. So continuous integration is followed by continuous testing. So when I started my career way back in 2008, 2009, developers never owned quality. It was like the developers will take a build and they would push it to the QA. And it was QA's responsibility to ensure quality. But things have changed drastically over the past couple of years. Now, QA or the testing team are mere advocates of quality. And the quality has to be built right from the development phase itself. Now, developers build quality into the code, and they provide more of a stable build to the QA engineers. And QA engineers are responsible for maintaining the test cases and the higher testing environments, and they have a set of automation test cases to be run. And with continuous, so what is advantages of continuous testing? With continuous testing, one gets to test early, test often, and test everywhere with the help of automation. All right, so we now have integrated code, we have tested it. So how do we deploy it into production? So that is when we have the concepts called continuous delivery and continuous deployment. Now the team at Amazon Web Services defines continuous delivery as a DevOps software development practice where code changes are automatically built, tested, and prepared for release into production. With the delivery pipeline fully automated, any code that passes the automated testing phase is automatically released into production. So continuous delivery makes the code available for delivery, for deployment into production. And with continuous deployment, you could deploy into production at your will. So taking a step back here, okay, we are deploying. So if you take the Amazon example, Amazon deployment frequency, the engineers are deploying code every 11.7 seconds. So I would say it is not humanly possible. It is not humanly possible to continuously monitor the production release. So that is where we have continuous monitoring in place. Now, continuous monitoring helps us to ensure that the application health, performance, and reliability is met and monitored. And if there are any issues identified in production, you could quickly identify them and address them so that we can prevent outages and minimize user issues. Let's, in the coming slide, we'll get to see more about the CI/CD pipeline, or how is the entire pipeline from developing the code to pushing the code into production, and the monitoring is automated. So this is a CI/CD pipeline with the developers at one end, at the left extreme, and the customers at the right extreme. So how does the whole system work? Like I told before, the developers write code, they integrate the code with the code base, and once they check in, so that's the technical term. So once they check in a code into the code base, the CI/CD pipeline takes the code, it carves out a build and deploys it into one of the test environments, or maybe one of the dev environments. And you have a test of automated test cases which are running against them. And once these test cases are all green, the deployment pipeline automatically takes this builds and deploys it into another testing environment, and maybe to another testing environment. And in all this environment, you have automated test cases being run. Now, once all the automated test cases are a pass, the pipeline then automatically picks this build and deploys into production. Now, it is in production, the customers consume the features that the developers have worked in. And with continuous monitoring in place, we can get 24/7 immediate feedback on how the new code is behaving. If there are any issues, we can readily fix it, or if there are customer feedback, with the right monitoring in place, we can absorb the feedback, and this feedback acts as one of the parameters into the planning, and the output of planning gets back into the developers as work packages for them to either create new features or modify the existing features. So this is how the entire deployment pipeline, or the entire the ideal automated DevOps pipeline should look like and rather work like. So till now, we have seen the major DevOps concept. So it is really clear that DevOps focuses on rapid delivery and quick feedback. And this is how it is often termed as an outgrowth of Agile methodology, as the principles of Agile also speaks about the same. Let's take a deeper look. Now, I'm not going to touch deep on the concept of Agile methodology, because I'm very sure that everyone in this session are pretty familiar with Agile concepts, like what is Agile development, what is Scrum, Kanban. So I'm not going to touch that. But I would say this: agility is all about the speed of embracing change and then succeeding in a changing environment. So in order to be agile, you need to be in a position to react and respond to changes. So changes could be like changing market dynamics, changing product requirements, etc., etc. But the keyword is quickly. And this is where Agile and DevOps come together. Now, DevOps focuses on, like we discussed, increased collaboration between departments. That could be operations, it could be business, it could be top management, and so on. And with increased collaboration, the aim is to deliver high quality application, which can be deployed faster, monitored, and maintained easily. And with effective feedback in the system, you could get accurate feedback in real time. So just taking a step back to the Flipkart example, one of the problems that James from the development team faced was, like, he was developing a feature for the past for 2 or 3 months, and when he finally completed it, he had to wait for another month to get this to deploy to production. With DevOps in place, there is no need to work on a feature which is 2 months long. He can have smaller chunks. Maybe he can work on a feature, or rather he can work on a work package, and then he can then quickly push it to production. Now that we have seen what are the core concepts of DevOps and how Agile and DevOps are interlinked, let's see how or who all are the major stakeholders in DevOps. All right. So there are many stakeholders. So DevOps primarily tries to capture the entire arena or entire spectrum of a software company. But I have tried to try to categorize the stakeholders into groups of 8. Start off, we have developers, and how developer is a stakeholder. So we have rightly seen that James with DevOps, he gets the right tools, he gets the right development employment, and deployments can be made in small chunks of functionality. He can get faster feedback, and with all this, he can really focuses on what he does best, that is development. He can put more effort in innovation and creation rather than being worried about whether his development environment matches with that of production, or whether he has to fill the paperwork to deploy a code into production. Because traditionally, when a developer deploys it, he is responsible for pushing the code. Primarily he's responsible for taking a build in the first place. He has to push this to all the pre-production environments. After this, he has to pass the build to the operations team for them to deploy. So all these are eliminated when we have implemented DevOps. Now, how is operations a stakeholder? Because when we deploy the production, when we do the production deployment in chunks, in smaller chunks, less variability is introduced into the system. This means that even if an anomaly is detected in the production environment, you can get to the root cause real fast. And with the right amount and more amount of automation brought into place, you can easily automate the mundane manual task, and this can be a real relief to the operations. Because if you remember, Ursula had to do a lot of production deployments, a lot of production monitoring. So with the automated pipeline, she can get rid of all these things. Now comes the test engineers. So in the core concept of DevOps, we saw that continuous testing is one of the core concepts of DevOps, and primarily this responsibility, or the person or the team who is accountable, would be the test engineers. Now, how does test engineer become a stakeholder? With DevOps and with automated provisioning in place, test engineers could mirror the production environment in the pre-production environment, which means that moreover, the pre-production environment is almost similar as that of production environment, so that there are less number of surprises when the code hits production. So more effective and faster testing can be done on the stable and real-time test environments. Now, DevOps. So technically, DevOps is not just about the IT function of the enterprise. It also has other stakeholders like product managers, project managers, and their business counterparts. So let's see how they are impacted, or how they become a stakeholder. What is in stake for a product manager? Now, for product managers, they get faster feedback, they get increased responsiveness, and they have reduced waste and risk. Because once a developer has completed working on a work package, he just deploys it, and you get the feedback that then and there. There is no wait time. All the wait times and all the waste is trimmed down to a larger extent. So how does it affect the project managers? Well, the project management, from my experience, is more streamlined than the traditional approaches when you have more automation into place, because you can more focus on the focus. You can give your focus on the risks and other aspects rather than running behind the manual mundane processes out there. So how was the top brass impacted or affected by this? Well, for one thing, everybody likes their features to be rolled out into production faster than their counterparts, and get more and thus make more money out of it. And the second reason, you have more employee retention rate. So no one wants to work in old legacy architecture. Everyone wants to, including you, me, and everyone in the IT industry wants to work on the latest and the greatest. So with DevOps, so the major plus point with DevOps is that they adopt the latest technologies that is available in the market, and employees get they have a greater learning exposure, and hence surveys says that they have companies which have adopted DevOps have more employee retention rate. So in a nutshell, DevOps has something for everyone in the software chain, be it developers, software operations, or the QA team. And furthermore, it even touches the business side of the things and even the top brass. All right. So till now we have spoken a lot about automation. We have spoken about test environments that mirrors production. We have talked about CI/CD pipeline. So have you wondered who does the heavy lifting out there? So they are a team called as the DevOps engineers. And now we will see who is a DevOps engineer. Now, a DevOps engineer is someone who works with the developers and the IT staff to oversee the code releases. Now, they are generally of two kinds: a developer who get interested in deployment and network operations, or vice versa; system admins who have a passion for scripting and coding. And since they have multiple backgrounds, DevOps is like the cream of any company out there. All right. So what are the primary responsibilities, or how does DevOps engineers help in the agile journey of things? Let's see what are the major responsibilities and how do they keep track of the agility of any organization. Like with all automation, the automated CI/CD pipeline might also sometimes get choked. It could be possibly due to a new code or a new infrastructure that is being added. So one of the major responsibilities of a DevOps engineer is to uh, identify any issues, then fix it without going for a failure. So they often need to spend time on troubleshooting, analyzing, and providing fixes to the issues. So as we have spoken in the previous slides, automation is the soul of DevOps. So they need to find stuff and they need to spend a lot of time to work on the automation backlog. So they are also primarily responsible for the infrastructure management. So in the previous slide, we discussed about developers spinning up the development environment on their own, like with one click of a button, maybe in Jenkins or something, they could spin up a test environment. Now, how does it happen? So it is the DevOps engineer's responsibility to configure everything so that it helps the job easy for everyone else. And with infrastructure management also ensures that the high backup, the high availability, new platform setup are also factored into this. Now, like I told, not everyone is is lucky to work with the greatest and latest out there. So no one wants to talk about it, but they also want to work with the legacy stuff. And you have in companies, you have mainframe systems which have been up and running maybe for the past 20 years or 30 years. And it is a big, tough challenge to integrate the latest technology with the legacy system. So they need to find workarounds on how best they can integrate. If not, they will have to work on, or they will have to initiate discussions on how best we can migrate the legacy platform into newer ones so that we have a fully fledged DevOps pipeline out there. The next thing is exploration. So the possibilities of DevOps are seamless. So it's a comparatively newer topics, and DevOps came into full-fledged maybe in the couple of 3 to 4 years. So there is a lot to be explored in the market, and there are a lot of options coming in their way. So exploration is also one of the key tasks of DevOps engineers. And yes, they need to remove bottlenecks because there could be challenges, there could be manual tasks which eats away most of the time in a development lifecycle. So they need to proactively identify them and remove them. Then comes documentation. So even though agile methodologies focuses less on documentation, but we should have minimal documentation to work on the notes about how the CI/CD pipeline is built, how the infrastructure is configured, and they should spend because it acts as a knowledge base for all the others, and it would be also good to have a reference if they need to update their infrastructure over the time. And yes, they are also responsible for training and self-development. And moreover, they should act as advocates of continuous improvement, and they should be advocates, rather ambassadors of the agile benefits of agile, adopting agile throughout the organization. So now that we have seen, we have seen what is DevOps, what are the core concepts, who are all the stakeholders, how does it help with the agility of any company. Let's now take a look into what are the benefits of DevOps. So before we dig deep into the benefits, let's just check on James and Ursula from Flapkart because they adopted DevOps 2 months back. So let's just check with them on how they are doing. So it is pretty clear that they are one happy lot. So Ursula is all thumbs up for after I'm adopting DevOps, and James is one thumbed up guy. All right. So what are the benefits of DevOps? So going a bit philosophical here, we are all familiar with the term culture. So how does our culture help us? And I would say they define us and they aid and help us in our journey called life. Now, DevOps is no different, in fact. So DevOps creates a company culture which acts as an enabler. Yeah, you may have different flashy terms associated with DevOps, like CI/CD, automation, continuous monitoring. But end of the day, they help us to be nimble and perform better. So basically, DevOps is a cultural shift which acts as an enabler. And what is the number one benefit of DevOps? Well, it helps us in our journey of becoming agile and more nimble and help us to respond more faster and effectively to changes across the spectrum. So I've tried to categorize the benefit into three basically. So A, technical benefits, B, cultural benefits, and C, the business benefits. Let's take a look one by one. So what are the technical benefits? So we have seen the technical benefits in the past slides, like this enables for continuous software delivery. Software is less complex to manage because A, we have continuous delivery. The delivery is done in small chunks. C, we have continuous monitoring in place. And before that, we have continuous testing in place to ensure that quality is inculcated into the into the build before it is pushed to production. So with all this, the software becomes less complex to manage. And yeah, every software or no matter what you do, you will have issues. But with DevOps fully implemented, you can have faster resolution to the problems out there. Now, what are the cultural benefits? You have more happier and productive teams. So in the previous slides with Flapkart, you could see before DevOps culture was inculcated in Flapkart, James and Ursula were frustrated. They were pissed off. But with DevOps, and once they started reaping off the benefits, they became more happier and more productive. It also aids for higher employee engagement and greater professional development opportunities. Now, how does the business benefits? Well, you have, like I told in the previous slide, you have faster delivery of features, which means you get to make more money even faster. You have more stable operating environments, which results in less number of production issues, which again saves you money. You have improved communication and collaboration. So even the CEO can talk with the developer with better collaboration communication. And at the end of the day, you save more time rather than fixing issues and maintaining stuff. And hence you have increased time to innovate. So I also have a bonus quote in the slide added. Like we are all familiar with the book Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus by John Gray. So it speaks about the concept that people are from different people are entirely different, and they make it complicated by their ignorance. And he gives a simple solution. So it's basically for couples, and he says that couples must acknowledge and accept these differences before they can develop and foster a relationship. So same is the case with DevOps. Devs are from Mars and Ops are from Venus. So it is not that you form a team with equally minded people or people with equal skill set. You mix people with different skill set, and you develop a culture so that you can effectively operate within the company. So that's the whole idea of DevOps. All right. So moving on, who is adopting DevOps? Well, the biggies have already adopted DevOps, and you have fully automated pipelines out there like Amazon, Google, Netflix, Facebook. So it's not all about the top 10 or top 5, 20 Fortune 500 companies out there. small companies, maybe small companies like Flipkart. So Flipkart is not a small company, but just for the comparison's sake, companies like Flipkart, government, even government organization like Fannie Mae, this is a US mortgage organization, USPTO. So this is a United States Patent and Trademark Office. So even they have started implementing DevOps. So in a nutshell, you can always delay the adoption of DevOps, but you cannot deny it. So maybe you cannot hold on with the adoption of DevOps for maybe another 2 or 3 years, but ultimately, to keep up with the market, you will have to adopt DevOps. So moving ahead, how do we measure DevOps? Or rather, why is measuring a culture or a concept important? Well, measurements allow us to make decisions based on an outcome of a measurement. By this, we get to shape the way we think and make decisions based on different metrics out there. Now, if you just Google the concept like how to measure DevOps, you will get maybe 30 or 40 metrics out there. I've tried to capture the 8 which I have found helpful and which personally I have used, and I'll get to this one by one. So one is the lead time. Now, lead time captures the amount of time that occurs between starting on a work item until it is deployed to production. Now, so over a period of time, this helps you to know that if you have started on a new work item today, how long it will take on an average until it gets to production. So by this, we should be able to track how effective your development team is or how effective your deployment pipeline is on. And you can predict, you can forecast on the delivery of features, because if you have a average time on the frequency of dev complete, you can forecast many things and the business would be able to plan things more effectively. All right, so next is the deployment frequency. That how often do we deploy code into production? Now, I told we have to increase the deployment frequency because the more we increase the deployment frequency, the less the chunky the code would be, which implies that you add less variability into the system, which results in a less number of production issues. And in case you have issues, you can effectively get to the root cause faster and rectify them easily. Next thing is availability. Well, you don't want, the last thing you ever want is your application to be down. So tracking availability is also one of the key DevOps metrics. Next would be the error rates. Now, error rates are directly proportional to the issues that we have in production. So maybe typically, they also indicate performance issues and uptime related issues also. So you have, I'm not getting into the details on how you can capture error rates, and you have a lot of metrics to capture error rates. So basically you need to capture error rates because you get alarms based on the error rate count, or if there is a spike in error rate, people will be paged out and teams would be reached out so that you can fix issues easily. And post deployment, you should be also ideally monitor the number of transactions or users accessing the system, because if you suddenly have no traffic post deployment or a giant spike in traffic, possibly you could have messed up with something, and you will have to investigate that. Again, you will have to monitor the application performance often, and there are a lot of tools to measure application performance also. Typically, during pre-deployment and post-deployment, you have to you will have to ensure that application performance is at par with the standards that you have set, because the last thing we want to have is a major system outage and not knowing about it. So we could also have continuous application monitoring in place to track all the above. Now, next one is one of my favorite, that is the MTTD and the MTTR matrices. So this simply means mean time to detection and mean time to recovery. So in big enterprise project, you get into contract with the clients where you have SLAs or service level agreements or MSAs, like master service agreements, set for MTTD, most of the metrics, but MTTD and MTTR specifically. So what does this mean? So MTTD, so we all agree that, so adding a bit of a context, so we all agree that even how hard we try, there will be production issues for sure. So how much exhaustive testing we do, I can guarantee you that there will be issues for sure. So MTTD basically captures the essence or the time when the production incident has occurred to the detection. So this is a good, so this is a direct relation to how robust monitoring that we have. And MTTR is the amount or is the data which captures information regarding the incident being first reported to the incident being recovered. So these are very key matrices because these tells about the operational effectiveness of your support team and your development team. All right. So next is a more of a holistic measure. And all right. So next is a more of a holistic measure, that is the HQ or the happiness quotient. So a couple of years back, we have never thought about the happiness quotient being the parameters. So we even have this HQ, happiness quotient, or HQ being adopted in the Scrum methodology also. So what is HQ? HQ captures the people element. So again, going back to the Flapkart example, just imagine after implementing DevOps, if Ursula and James continues to be equally frustrated and unhappy, um, there was no need of implementing a new practice in the first place. So with a new practice or new technology being implemented, management needs to see whether it makes the lives of employees easy and they have their happiness quotients increased to a certain bar. Maybe you might not, it might not be a good time to measure the happiness quotient right after the implementation, because if you remember the Tuckman's team formation model, there are four stages, right? Like forming, storming, norming, and performing. And once these teams starts performing after the implementation of DevOps, then if you capture a happiness quotient, or if you start tracking happiness quotient from there, you will get a good indicator on whether adopting DevOps uh, was good in the favor of the company or was not. So DevOps is always a good methodology to, or good culture to inculcate. So if the happiness quotient is not at par, then you could have implemented it incorrectly, and you could get to the root cause and then correct it then and there. All right. So now we'll see what are the tools by which we do DevOps, or we implement DevOps culture in a company. So here is what I'm going to do. So there are a lot of, trust me, there are around 200 to 300 tools available for DevOps. So I've tried to categorize most of these into 10 or 12 categories, and I've grouped the tools according in this category. So I'll explain the category and then I'll go with the tool. Okay, let's start with application lifecycle management. So application lifecycle management captures the requirements management, the software architecture, the computer programming. So it's basically talks about how you track things, how you do project management, how you raise a ticket for release management, and so on. And we have many tools like Jira, Basecamp, Trello, Mingle, ServiceNow, Asana for application lifecycle management. And the next one is communication. So unless and until you communicate and collaborate, you would still be working against walls. So we have the three major players out there in the market are Slack, HipChat, and Microsoft Teams. So if you ask me to pick one, I would go with Slack, my eyes closed, because there is a ton of automation options available in Slack, and you could virtually connect all the other tools that is being discussed with chat with Slack, and you could control the entire show with Slack. So Slack is one powerful tool for communication and collaboration. And we all know that knowledge is power. However, it is power as long as it is shared. So how do we share it? We have different tools like Confluence, GitHub pages, Reddit talks, Reddit. So this is basically to do the documentation and share it. Now, how do we do source code management, or how do we implement version control systems? We have Git, GitHub, Bitbucket, etc., etc. Now, we saw the concept of continuous integration, wherein developers integrate the code with the big master code base on a daily basis or more frequently. We have tools like Jenkins, Circle CI, Bamboo, etc. for the same. How do we take a build? So build is nothing but a deployment. is the process of converting a software code into a standalone software artifact that can run on a specific test environment or a production environment. So we have different tools, build tools like Maven, Docker, Gradle, etc. And how do we do database management? Well, a couple of tools here: DBMastro, Redgate, etc. Just quickly, swiftly moving through the tools here. And how do we do testing? So continuous testing being one of the core concept of DevOps, we have a whole array of tools out here. So testing tools can be categorized into many, like tools which are used for unit testing, tools which are used for functional testing, for security testing, for performance testing, so on. And I've listed a couple here. There are a lot more out there. So Selenium, JUnit, Jasmine, Apache, JMeter, Cucumber, BlazeMeter, etc. Some of the testing tools out there. How do we deploy the code into production? Well, we have tools like Octopus Deploy, Juju, Elasticbox, etc. So certain tools can be used for deployment. Also, for example, if you ask me, Jenkins, which we saw for continuous integration, can also be used for deployment. So tools have different capabilities. I've not tracked everything here. So I just wanted to give a insight on what are the tools used. You can always do further research on how a specific tool can be chosen and how effectively it can be used. Now, for configuration management, so configuration management is a process of maintaining computer system servers and software in a desired and consistent state, in fact. So, so it basically helps us to ensure that the systems overall, the entire ecosystem behaves as expected when changes are made over time. And we have a couple of tools like Chef, Puppet, etc. And how do we do artifact management? We have tools like Registry, Bower, Nugget, etc. Well, where do we deploy services? I know we are very familiar with these, like AWS, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure Cloud, the GCP, the Google Cloud Platform. Heroku is also from the open source. What do we do for orchestration and scheduling? Well, we have Kubernetes and we have Mesos also. Next comes the biggie. So if you remember the core DevOps concept, continuous monitoring was also one of the concepts. So how do we add business intelligence? How do we monitor and how do we track the logs in production? Well, we have a robust tools out here currently, like Dynatrace, AppDynamics. PagerDuty is used for raising escalation. We have Splunk for capturing the logs. We have Kibana for dashboard. We have Sentry. Datadog is again used for capturing the log. So if you ask me, my pick on any given day would be Dynatrace for monitoring and Splunk for logging. All right. So we have seen many tools, and I've just tried to collate all the tools that I've seen in the past couple of minutes. So if you ask me, which all tools do I need to use to have a pure DevOps pipeline in my company? I would say, ideally, you will have to pick one from each of the sections here. So one from application management, one for communication, one for knowledge sharing, one for SEM, one from testing, one for deployment, etc. So there are, we will get to this later. So there are cloud platform emerging, which encapsulate some of the things, like Amazon Web Services has some of Amazon has CloudWatch, AWS CloudWatch in place, which does monitoring to a certain level. We can do deployment with AWS services. We can do configuration management with AWS services. But if you ask me, they are not robust enough, or rather, they are not mature enough to act as a platform itself, single platform itself. So at present, we should be ideally using at least one from each of the group for having a completely automated, autonomous, independent pipeline out there. All right. So how does I just captured this screenshot from the internet? So how does a typical monitoring dashboard look like with the tools that we have seen in the previous slide? So when the ops teams look at their dashboard, they will get kind of a similar dashboard. So they have screens, maybe a couple of screens like this, so where they track each application by the health, number of users logged into the system currently, what is the revenue by the hour, what is the error count, errors by host, in fact, by app, the response time. So this all gives indications on how your production servers are doing or how your application is performing. and you have automated monitoring put into it, or rather alerts, tailored into it, so that if anything drops below par, uh, emails would be triggered, or alarms would be triggered, so that corresponding teams can jump into action. They can fix issues then and there. So typically you have teams like the IMT teams and big organization, namely the incident management team, the NOC, the network operations center, the SOC, the service operations center, and the SRE, the site reliability engineering. So basically they share their responsibilities across each other, for fixing any production issues if any of this graph or data goes haywire. All right, so is implementing DevOps as simple as breaking down a wall? So if you get, again, I keep going back to the Flapkart example now. Ursula and James were sitting beside to each other. So when they implemented DevOps, was it as simple as breaking down a wall in between? Well, no. Let's see what are the major challenges to implement DevOps in a company. Well, first of all, it's all about changing the organization's culture. Well, if you ask me, or if you ask anyone from any spectrum of life, change is something that everyone resists. Yet, I would say it is the only way one can progress. And changing the organization's culture is one of the most difficult leadership challenges that anyone faces. So, irrespective of DevOps, if you want to implement any change, maybe in your college or in anywhere, maybe even in your home, change is something that we resist. But once we start reaping the benefits, change will be accepted. So, how is change, a tough thing to implement, or how is change acting as one of the biggest challenges? So, just taking a step back here, before DevOps, this is how traditional development used to work. Developers used to code for maybe a couple of days. They used to have, they used to have, peer reviews. Then they used to have multiple. They used to push it to the production pre-production environments. Their QA used to test it. They used to get approvals from the management team. Now with DevOps, the entire culture is going to change, because the code will be quickly, once a pipeline takes hold of the code, within an hour or two, it will push the code into production. No questions asked. So that is where you have to entirely change the way that you worked previously. Let's get to the next challenge. So what is the challenge with the legacy systems? So legacy systems are definitely roadblocks. Now, like we discussed before, in fact, DevOps is a comparatively new concept which came strong only for the past 4 to 5 years. Now, old legacy systems will not help you in getting the expected DevOps results. Some systems, like I told, the mainframe systems are running for the past 20 or 30 years. So they can't even integrate with the pipeline. So these are challenges out there, because when you plan to bring on the DevOps culture into a company, you have to think about your existing infra. You have to ways to work around the existing legacy systems, and you have to have a plan in the pipeline on how you can upgrade or migrate the system to the latest and greatest. All right. So the third one is optimizing the deployment pipeline. So like I told before, once a developer checks in a code, the pipeline picks it up and deploys the code into production within an hour or within 30 minutes. So traditionally, this used to happen in the gap of a week or even 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So in 3 weeks, the code used to stay in testing environments. We used to get time to test it. Product managers used to look into the code. They used to give feedback. And if everybody across the board was happy, you used to push it. With DevOps, it is not the case. You just push the code into production. So once you commit the code, you just push the code into production. So the developers has to be more mature in the way they handle the code, they write the code, and there is more responsibility and maturity that everyone needs to put into the pipeline for this to be effective. And there is multiple environments to be managed. This include the hosting environment, the test environment, the production environment. So, and you have to mix the modern environments with the legacy applications, and you have a combination of on-prem servers and cloud servers. So you will have to manage a wide variety of environments and see through them. In the previous tool, in the previous slide, we saw a lot of tools, and lot are coming up. So it is very challenging for an organization to choose from to choose and pick a particular tool. So a lot of exploration and lot of market research has to be done on what is the right tool which suits our organization. If we buy a particular tool, what is the return on benefit? What is the cost? They should always do a cost benefit analysis to see which tool would be effective to the organization. And there is nothing like a standard tool set defined out there. So Amazon could be adopting some set of tool set. The company I work for could be adopting a different tool set. So you have to do your research very often and stay updated with the market. And yes, DevOps doesn't come cheap. You have to have a lot of you have to do a lot of initial investment into the pipeline, because you have to hire engineers. You have to have pipeline setup. You have to migrate the code from existing legacy system to the new systems. And yeah, so this always have increased cost on your company. So just talking about the cost, I like to bring the concept of the capex and the opex. So for the capital expenditure and the operating expenditure. So when implementing DevOps, the capital expenditure is going to be high for sure, at least the initial cost, but the operating expenditure would be very minimal, and the break-even period can be obtained maybe typically between 3 to 4 years, considering the scale at which you are adopting DevOps. So we have seen DevOps. What are the benefits of DevOps? What are the tools used? Let's see how does DevOps looks in 2020, and how does it look? How does the future look ahead? If you ask me, one of the processes, or even though companies claim to have adopted DevOps to its fullness, the change management process is still manual in most of the companies. So this implies that the CI/CD pipeline stops in the pre-production environment. So in the pre-production environment, some manual resource would be, pushing the code into production manually. And now, why this is so? Because I think the maturity or the trust factor is not at par to have fully automated pipelines out there. Yes, companies are doing it. For example, Amazon have fully automated pipelines. Companies have maybe 10%. They are increasing the ratio of manual deployments to automation deployments maybe every month on month. For example, the company I used to work prior, Expedia, has to have 20% fully automated deployments, and other 80 was manual deployments. So this is one area which is going to see a change, wherein you would be fully automating your deployment pipelines also. That is pushing the code from your pre-production environment to the production. And the second thing would be, AI, ML into DevOps. So AI and machine language, artificial intelligence and machine language are the buzzwords of the industry. So how does this affect us? So typically, this is what happens. So when I can give you a simple example to relate. So there are wide areas, but I'll keep it simple. So when a CI/CD pipeline deploys a particular code into an environment, it runs a particular number of 10 test cases. Let's say we run 10 test cases, and out of this 10 test cases, if one of them fails, the build is reverted back to the previous build. All right. Now our code is deployed into production, and we ran a test. It is all automated, and we ran a set of test cases of set of 10 test cases, and out of that, 2 test cases failed. Now with AI and ML, we should be able to make the call. Okay, 2 test cases failed, which implies that 2 features are not working. But we pushed a new feature. And this new feature can give us, say, for example, $100 more in profit. And with the 2 errors that is introduced in the system, we'll take a loss of $20. But the net revenue would increase by $80. So we'll keep this build. We'll take the hit of having 2 errors in production because we will get a increased revenue of $80, though we will not get the projected $100, and we'll fix it. So these decisions are currently taken by humans. Now with AI and machine learning into place, we could we could automate everything, and with the AI could take the call on whether to keep the build or revert the build and take such decisions on the fly. There is also another concept like I haven't added here, like the DevSecOps. So it is all about adding the security concept into DevOps, because DevOps primarily speaks about the collaboration between various departments. So with security, the buzzword of the industry, and the number of attacks on the rise day by day, DevSecOps is also on the rise. All right. So let's get to the final one. And like we told before, we have a lot of tools out there. So just taking for a reference, we have hell of a tools out there, but there is no one single platform which can encapsulate all the tools out there, or there is no one single platform out there. From there we can connect to everything and work from a single source of truth. So we have something like Amazon, Azure Cloud, GCP, to a certain extent provides those, but they are not there yet, or they are not mature yet. So these will emerge. More and more robust DevOps platforms would emerge maybe in the next 1 or 2 years, and the entire DevOps will be taken to a new level. So um, um, I'm concluding my session here. So I think it was informative. So this is me, James, and Ursula thanking you. If you have any further questions, you can always. I think we have 2 or 3 minutes left in the session, so you can always shoot them, or else you can always reach me at this contact information. You can always text me, mail me, or you can always add to me as a contact in LinkedIn. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah, now we'll be moving to the query section. If you're having any queries, you please post on the chat box. And also, please mark your attendance and the feedback section for the feedback. Feedback form, it's shared in the chat box. So if you're having any queries, please post. Yes, sir, we are having one query from Veena Miss. Is there any dependency to programming language while implementing DevOps?
Yes. So DevOps is not a I can put it this way. So DevOps is not a concept that you can apply on top of something. So it has to go hand in hand with all the IT operations. Say, for example, I told about continuous monitoring in place. So continuous monitoring or continuous testing. So it is not something that you can or you cannot implement. You cannot implement on after you completed the programming. So for continuous monitoring, you need to have logging in place. You need to have proper session in place, because that helps in identifying the root causes. So when you develop or when you code, you have to have the bigger picture in mind, and then program accordingly. So I would say there is no specific programming languages for specifically designed for DevOps, but every programming language can be tweaked or fine-tuned for inculcating the concept of DevOps. I hope I answered your question, Veena. Yeah, all right.
Any more queries? Okay, let's move to the concluding part. I'm glad to take this opportunity to thank Mr. John Joseph for this informative section about DevOps and its scope in software industry. And it gives us an insight about DevOps, which is the heart of application development and maintenance today. Thank you, Mr. John. Thanks a lot. I thank all the participants for joining with us. We will be back. We will be back with next section, sharp 2 p.m. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thanks.